May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. In the book of the prophet Jeremiah, we hear these words, "And there was heard the sound of Rachel weeping for her children." That's in Jeremiah 31:15. "There was the sound of shattered families as many were exiled to Babylon." In Matthew's gospel, we hear Rachel weeping for her children because they were no more. Matthew 2, verse 18. When I say these words, I'm not speaking of the ancient Babylonian exile. And no, I am not speaking of the slaughter of the innocents, children ripped from their mother's arms in Matthew's gospel. I'm speaking of 21st century America right here and right now. There's an old Chinese saying, "May you live in interesting times." I'm not sure whether this is a blessing or a curse. I suppose it could be either one. Right now we live in interesting times, and they seem to be not much of a blessing. Yes, immigration is an issue that needs to be dealt with. Now, I don't know the right answer, but I do know the wrong one. This current plan will only serve to hurt the most innocent and vulnerable. I know this because for several years we have visited with large numbers of homeless people week after week. Many of these folks are of Hispanic origin. To my knowledge, most, if not all, have legal documentation, but they are still afraid. They fear that even though they are documented, they may be caught up in sweeps, or they may lose someone they love. And if they are held up for any reason for 90 days, they can forfeit the benefits that they have. If they are newly housed, which some are, and if they are held for any kind of processing for 90 days, they will lose their housing. And then they're right back on the street to start this many years process again. There's a lot riding on this. No, I don't know how many, if any, are undocumented, and I don't care. That's not my job. As a Christian, as a follower of Jesus Christ, my job is to show compassion. Christianity is a call to servanthood. These people are so afraid that I no longer see many of them on the street. They're afraid to show themselves. In the past, we would see these people wait for hours on dark, cold mornings to collect one lousy $10 grocery store gift card and a granola bar. So great was their need. Can you imagine yourself doing all that for a $10 gift card? But now, for their own safety, they are even denied that small bit of comfort. We still go out, my team still goes out to seek out the homeless, and we will continue. But now, all we can find easily are the Anglos. It's much harder to find the Hispanics. What a grave sin against so many innocents. Yes, the criminal element is there, but they know how to hide and evade. The innocent ones don't. It occurred to me that I've never really told you about how our homeless ministry got started. It was almost 5 years ago, and it got started because of a baptismal vow. When we are baptized, as we will see this morning, we promise to respect the dignity of every human being. And this is how our homeless ministry got started. In September of 2020, I came in early on a Sunday morning. We were taping services then. During COVID, it was very easy to identify the homeless because they were the only people outside. As I turned the corner down here onto Sligo Avenue, I saw 4 clearly homeless people sitting or sleeping on the corner. And as I started past them, I was reminded of that baptismal vow. And I knew if I passed them to go to worship, that worship would mean nothing to God. And I would be failing in that baptismal vow to respect their dignity. So I stopped. I did not have much with me at the moment, but I shared what I had. One woman refused the money, but then she said she had a gift for me. She then began to sing in the most beautiful voice I have ever heard. She gave me that gift. Yes, Graced moments happen even on the street, maybe especially on the street. And now we have a group of 12 assisting in this ministry. So you might ask, but really, why do you do it? It's only $10. Why do you go out before dawn and long after sunset to seek out the poor and the needy among us? Because of that vow. God has called every single one of us here to this, to live the baptismal life, to serve justice, to offer compassion and respect, to have mercy, and to serve those in need, maybe especially when we live in interesting times. We're not all called to the same type of service. In the judgment parable in Matthew's gospel, there are many ways that are mentioned. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, welcome the stranger, give drink to the thirsty, and more. Our service as baptismal people may take on a variety of styles. We may even be called to serve in a countercultural way, in ways that set us apart from the prevailing mood and practices of the world. But that did not stop Jesus, and it shouldn't stop us. It did not stop our Bishop Mary Ann from speaking truth to power last week, even though, yes, she deserves applause. Even though it cost her a sense of security as she faces death threats. Living out our baptismal lives and our baptismal vows may call us to live a life of courage as we follow Jesus Christ. You know, I was thinking this morning, we have this image, babies usually wear white at baptism, and in the book of Revelation it talks about people wearing white, and I'm thinking, yeah, those are the baptismal robes. But why should they, if we're wearing them in the world at all, they should look pretty dirty and worn. They should look dirty because we lift up people from the gutter. They should be stained with the tears of people grieving. So our baptismal robes, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what God has to say about this, but the dirtier we get them, the better. Yes, we live in interesting times. And this is what the baptismal life means. It's not a place of comfort and ease. It's a place of hard work, of compassion, and of concern. It is a life that calls us into the nitty-gritty of the world. It's a life that does not allow for any fence sitting. In a few minutes, we will welcome 2 boys into this baptismal community as we baptize Atesh and Sebastian. So boys, I have a message for you. we already practiced this. The baptismal life means to be of service to others. It means to help people in need as best we can, to be kind and to be welcoming. Do you think you can do that? Yes. I think you can too. And now I think it's time to baptize.